All right. Well, welcome to the Google Hangout. It's actually, ironically, the first and last Google Hangout of the year as we are just on the eve of 2015. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off this Hangout, the 5 stages of prosperity. And if you got an email from me, I was up late. This is some content I've been working on for quite some time. And I was up late last night, felt inspired, and wanted to go ahead and do a pre-Thanksgiving special Hangout for you here for about the next hour or so. So before I get into this, I'm going to refresh the page. I'm going to mute myself. So I got a little Google Hangout inception going on here. I've got a computer here on the side, because I want to monitor this and see if I can pull this off here. So we'll get started here in just a second. Let me just pull this up here, and it looks like we are playing live. So if you got questions, here's how this is going to work, since this is a Google Hangouts. The link that I sent you in the email linked right to the event page, so you should be able to ask questions and interact right below. There's a couple times throughout the Hangout I'm going to ask you a couple chats here. And since I've been playing with Google Hangouts last, I've got a couple new features. There's the little applause feature too below. So if there's parts of the webinar or the training today that you like, you can click on that as well. So looks like we're good and off and running. So let me go ahead and start off here. I'm going to share my screen. And 1 second. Okay, perfect. Still getting used to the new tool that I got here. So let's go ahead and share screen, and you should be able to see my screen here. So I'm going to go ahead and present to anyone here, and I'm going to pull up that particular screen. So before we get started today, I've got one simple request, and I'm going to go through and share what we're doing today and why. My one request is that you empty your cup on today's webinar. And I saw this little chart of things that you don't know. So I want this to be effective for you, like I said, over the next 40 minutes or so. And I found this chart. And I've seen this a couple different ways, but basically the green area is things that we don't know that we don't know. The red area is things that we know that we don't know. And the blue area are things that we know that we know. So for example, we know that you know how to drive a car, which is a fraction of the knowledge in the universe. And then there's things that you don't know about, like I know I can't fly a jet or speak Japanese, which is what this lists. And really the majority of the knowledge in the known universe are things that we don't know that we don't know. Everything that's in your blind spot, okay, everything that's holding you back, things that you don't know. And part of my intention on this Hangout, this training is part of a series of alpha webinar trainings that I've created for you, is to give you a new awareness of yourself, specifically as we go into the new year, and to give you a new awareness of the gifts and the skills that you have right at your fingertips. So before we get into the information today, real quick, who am I? My name is Gabe Strom, and this is my site. I've been coaching professionally since 2008. I've been an entrepreneur, an online entrepreneur, for about the same time frame, and had the privilege, really, of coaching entrepreneurs all across the U.S. and now the world. We've had a lot of, for some not a strange reason, but a lot of Australians coming out of the woodwork recently, getting involved in our programs. And you might, whether or not we've connected in the past, I've had the privilege, I host a podcast, and I have the privilege of interviewing some of the sharpest business minds, both in the online world and the offline world, thought leaders, present and past, to find out what makes successful people tick. How do successful people think differently? What do they do differently on a daily, weekly basis to create different results? And so I've had the unique privilege of doing this over the years, and really finding the common traits among successful people. And so we might have connected. Here's my podcast on iTunes. It's the Rich and Awake podcast. If you're a subscriber, if you're not, there's a lot of great past resources for this. But just to give you, this webinar today is not about me. It's about you. And I just wanted to give you a little background if we haven't connected before, just to say hi. So before we get started, though, with today, before we get into the 5 stages of prosperity, I want to share a quick story with you. And it was a story that happened over 60 years ago on May 6th, 1954 at Oxford University Lifeley Road Track. And this was, of course, the historic race that Roger Bannister broke the 4-minute mile. Okay, the first 4-minute mile ever run by a human, documented. Now, the reason I'm sharing this story with you, I'm just going to play a quick video in just a second here, is to set the tone for this webinar. And my challenge for you as you're watching, we're just going to watch just a couple, just a short clip of this as to what's your 4-minute mile. And this was such a paradigm because prior to this point in history, prior to Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile, nobody had ever run a 4-minute mile. And I'm going to show you some statistics in a second here that are absolutely going to blow your mind of what's happened since he broke that paradigm, since it was all of a sudden possible for runners to run a 4-minute mile. So I'm just going to play a quick clip here. My challenge for you as you're watching, we're just going to watch a couple. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with the audio for this video, but basically Roger's talking about here, he slips in, here he is in second place, running the race, and he talks about how his legs felt endless, how his legs felt like they were just effortlessly, and he was being pulled. It wasn't, this whole stage, this process goes on for basically the first 3 laps, the first 3/4 of a mile, where he's running, and he's running in second place here in the drift, and he's talking about how he feels just called towards a higher calling and towards a higher purpose. So I'm just going to fast forward. He does this for 3 laps, and what happens at the very end is very interesting. So I'm going to unmute this here. If for some reason this plays double, just mute this part, and we'll come back here. So let me unmute this here so you can hear what he says at the end here. Effortlessly, and he was being pulled. It wasn't. Okay. I'm listening here on the live stream. I realized that the audio probably wasn't playing there. So here's what you get to do, okay? Roger, this video is important for you to just bookmark this video. If you just head on YouTube after this Hangout's over, and I'll put a link in the description for this as well, the 4-minute mile with Roger. He basically talks about, and this is such a fascinating thing that happens, is 3/4 of or 3 of the 4 laps go by, and he kicks into, and he realizes that he's on pace to break the 4-minute mile. He's hearing the times, and just another gear kicks on. He has this out-of-body experience where he comes outside of himself, and he just feels called and pulled. He doesn't feel any pain. It feels effortless, and he just feels called in the destiny of his future. And this guy goes, and he's running on the back stretch here, the last piece. And when you watch this video, I literally was in tears the first time I saw this, because of not just a man running a 4-minute mile, but a man breaking a paradigm, a worldly paradigm, that it was impossible to run a 4-minute mile. And this has happened multiple times in history. This happened with flight. This happened with the Wright brothers in the race to flight. It was impossible to put an airplane in space. It happened even before that, you know, in the Spanish exploration, when Columbus and whoever else was exploring before him came and discovered America. You know, at that point, it was considered impossible. The world was flat. That was the paradigm back then. So we've done this multiple times in the human kind of evolution of our species, if you will. And here's this guy, Roger, right? Roger Bannister, who breaks the 4-minute mile. Now, as impressive as this is, here's the thing that is really going to rattle your perspective, okay? I went up and did a little research here on Track and Field News, and found out the chronological listing of U.S. milers who have broken 4 minutes in the mile. So let me just play this here. Okay, we got a little delay on the recording, so I'm listening to myself here a couple past. Here's what's nuts, right? 1954, Roger Bannister breaks the record. 1957, a couple years later, Don Bowen. 1960, 1962, 1967. 1970, Rick Riley, the 32nd person, breaks the mile. Here we are, 1972, the 50th. Kim Popejoy from Michigan State breaks the mile. Look at 73. Look at all these people in 73. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 people, ending with Scott Daggett from Oregon, break the 4-minute mile in 1973. And then this goes on. Like, look at all these people. Look at all these paradigms, these worlds, these people that previously in the sport, the history of the sport, it was impossible to run a 4-minute mile. Okay. 1995, 2000s, 2006, 2009, all the way to present day 2014, where Donnie Coert from Raleigh is the 425th individual documented to run the 4-minute mile, and I believe these are all collegiate records. I'll have to go look up, and perhaps there's another list with the non-collegiate. But what's crazy about this list is that none of these folks thought this was possible before, and the reason I'm showing you this, and I'm showing you the Roger Bannister video to start off this webinar, is to inspire a new level of thinking for you this year in 2015. And I thought it was important to share this before we get into the 5 stages of prosperity, just to give some context, because it's not the how-to, right, that causes the shift. It's the thinking. So I wanted to cover one other piece and lay some groundwork, which I believe really is the big problem, and it can also be the big solution, depending on the perspective you look about it. But one of the things that I wanted to do on this Hangout today was to share, and I first learned this from Tony Robbins, who I'm sure first learned this from somebody else. I was first taught this as the ultimate success formula. So, and the reason I'm sharing this with you, if you want to have the best 2015 of your life, and I'm going to share with you the 5 stages of prosperity to give you some context to that, it all goes back to ultimately to you and your thinking. And if you look at the results that you're enjoying today in your life, I want you to consider the fact that the things that you're enjoying today are results of your best thinking that produce that result. So if you want better results, we first got to look at your thinking. So in this system, which is really a system, it traces through how our thoughts become our actions become our results become our beliefs, and based on those core root beliefs, we have different thoughts, positive thoughts or negative thoughts. If we have positive thoughts, we do positive actions get positive results, and because of that result, it strengthens our beliefs, and the cycle continues in an upward manner. Now, in all fair warning, this vehicle can be used as a positive. It can also be used as a negative. So it can also happen in the reverse. And I think it's important when you're looking at the results that you're getting or not getting in your life to identify what are the limiting beliefs, the thoughts that produce the limiting beliefs in your life that come from certain results, not good or bad, forces you to not take action. When you don't take action, your thoughts aren't very good, right? Then your beliefs reinforce, well, of course it didn't work, right? It never works. And you don't want to get your hopes up, and you go back and you go in this negative cycle. So this pattern can happen to the positive. It can also happen to the negative. The reason I'm sharing it with you is as part of this alpha series. And this is really the first webinar. I'm doing a 5-part webinar series coming up here in December that I'm going to talk about after the stages of wealth here in just a second. But the reason I'm sharing this with you now is to give you some context and to raise your awareness about the results that are or are not being produced in your life, okay? Now, the last thing that I want to talk about before we get into the stages of prosperity is what we've just been talking about up until this point really is just the very tip of the iceberg. Okay, this is the very tip of the conscious mind. What's below the surface and really what drives the majority of your actions in your life is your subconscious mind, your belief systems. And if we look at where do belief systems come from, and we trace this all the way back, typically research has shown that at a young age, between the ages of when you're born till about the age 7, is when researchers have identified that your subconscious mind is basically wide open. Okay, you're open to all possibilities. That's why little kids, they have no fear when you look at how they live their life. They live their life joyful, fearless, full of abundance, full of love. You know, there's no judgment. It's just they're free spirits. And mainly because they haven't been conditioned by society yet. So after about the age 7, and you can do this research yourself too, the subconscious mind closes, your belief systems fully form, and then you go through the rest of your life operating out of essentially those immature belief systems. So the reason I'm creating this and telling you this as part of this alpha training is to give you awareness of these pieces of you, these hidden pieces, and hopefully you're starting to ask the question, what are those limiting beliefs? What are those positive belief systems that have been guiding your life? And if you want to get better results, right? If you want to look forward and have 2015 be a better year than 2014, and if you want to even go into this even deeper and think back, 5 years ago, and looking forward to today, it's 2015. So back in 2010, where were you in 2010? And where did you think you would be by now in 2015? Okay, it's a fair question. And the more challenging question is, where actually are you? Okay, where are you today versus where you thought you'd be? Now, this isn't a right, wrong, beat yourself up purpose of this webinar, but I share that because if you want to have and look forward, 2016 is going to be here before we know it. Then 2020 is just 5 years in the future. So as fast as the past 5 years have gone for you, the next year, the next 5 years are basically going to speed up, which is what I've noticed about time in my young 31 years on this planet. So I'm hosting this training today, and I'm going to share with you these 5 phases to really inspire you this year as we kick off the new year. So let me go ahead and pop back over to the webinar here, and let me find my screen share here. Let's see here. Where is the screen share? Here we go. So we're going to stop the screen share. That should pull back open the video. And we'll give the screen here a second to catch up as we will dive in here to this next section. So I'm going to play with I'm going to let this load back up here. The great thing about Google technology is it's fairly easy to implement. The challenge with this is we've got I've said this a couple of times, but there's a delay in the live version. So if you're watching this afterwards, maybe you're having some turkey with your family, just want to say I appreciate you. Appreciate you taking time out of your day to invest in yourself. And I appreciate you for what you're up to in the world. And that's why I am creating this training. And not just this video today, but I'm going to tell you about a class that I have coming up here in December, a 5-week, really a personal development. It's a program, anything like itself. And I've created this to give you a roadmap and a path to have the best 2015 possible for you. Okay, and this is to have get really clear on your purpose and what you're here for. So I'm excited to talk to you about that in a second. But before we do, let's go ahead and dive in-to the 5 stages of prosperity. I'm going to pull up my pen here. This is one of the new updates to the Google Hangout platform. I'm going to let this puppy load up here, and as that's loading, I'm going to just get up my pen here. We're going to get a stamp going on. Okay, looks like it's searching for a face. All right. Okay, so here's the stamp. We're going to go with text. 5 stages of prosperity. Okay. This is going to live right here in the background of us. Okay, this is the 5 stages. I don't know if you can see this here. If I click this right on top of the video. Okay, it's an individual. We want to go on the screen here. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and stamp this up here on the wall. Potentially. I played with this yesterday, and it looks like it's not sticking on the wall. So I don't know if you can see my screen, because I've got stage 1 here. But I'm going to go through this. If you can't see this on the screen, go ahead and grab a piece of paper and a pen. This is where you're going to want to take notes through this piece. And I got to give credit where credit's due. I first discovered everything that I'm going to share with you today. I am not the original author of any of this information. In fact, I firmly believe there's no new information under the sun. I'm just the messenger who's gathered and synthesized this for you. So I originally learned this, a version of this from Steve Cook, one of the co-founders of the Life in Air series. So if you want to go deeper in this, you can pick up that book as a resource. He talks about the first 4 stages. I believe there's 5 stages to prosperity, and the first 4 are modeled off of a teaching from his, and the 5th one is something that I've discovered and really discovered, and this goes into the joy of life. And you probably heard before that living is giving, and so I had to add the 5th step, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But stage 1 of the 5 stages of prosperity is vision. Okay, nothing is started, nothing is created without first having vision. This is one of the things I've noticed from interviewing literally hundreds of successful people. This past year with the podcast, we had 27 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs on the show. I had a chance to study their thinking, and one thing I've noticed from all of them is they all have tremendous vision. Entrepreneurs are visionaries. The Steve Jobs of the world, the Oprahs of the world, the Richard Bransons of the world, the Ben Franklin of the world. Yeah, I'm going to go old school like that because Ben's the man. And if you haven't studied up on Ben's biography, I highly suggest it. It's a classic. But stage 1, and gosh, I wish I could decorate this here on the board. For some reason, it's not letting me put that up there. But stage 1 is your vision, okay? Stage 2, we're going to go in here, and I'm going to update this. Stage 2 of the 5 stages of prosperity is your needs, okay? Your needs. So what do I mean by what are your needs? Well, these are your core basic living needs. And when you look at the vision for your life, and we can go through this on a bigger perspective, you've got to analyze what is it, we have a cost of living here in America, here in the States. And if you're watching this in the UK or Australia or wherever you are in the world, there's a certain level of cost of living. And the whole name of the game for creating ultimate prosperity and affluence in what you're doing to have the ultimate time freedom is to first, you got to get clear, where are you today? Okay. What are your expenses? What are your debts? What are your positive? And what are the core needs you require to live your lifestyle? This is food, water, shelter, basic stuff. And the reason it's not needs and wants is because wants and luxuries is a whole nother category. And one of the things I found very freeing is when you can separate the needs in your life from the luxuries in your wants. And when you can sacrifice on some luxuries in the short term, oftentimes it can pay off and get you farther ahead of the row. So, and one of the things we're going to talk about in this is eliminating debt. In fact, I've got a whole follow-up webinar series specifically about this, eliminating the debt load that you have on your life through a process called the debt snowball, and freeing up that extra cash flow. So that's phase 2, though, in the paradigm here. Okay, phase number 3. Okay, once you've gone through the first 2 phases, phase 3. To build excess cash flow. Okay. Stage numero 3. I'm not for sure if this is sticking up here. Okay. Once you've got your core needs met, whether that's through a job or through your business or maybe your, whatever kind of profession that you're in, is to build up extra cash flow. So hopefully in stage 2, you've also eliminated your debts, got rid of your consumer debt, credit cards, and other pieces. That will also help to increase your cash flow. The reason for that is because your ability to generate an income is your number 1 asset. Okay, this is important enough for you to write down that your number 1 asset is not what you have in the bank, it's not your portfolio, it's your ability to generate an income and a revenue. And in stage 3, you want to build up and save extra cash that you can use to leverage for other opportunities and also use to invest into stage number 4, which is a perfect segue into stage number 4. Stage number 4. Invest in income producing assets. Okay? Stage 4, invest in income producing assets. Okay. And this is the phase of affluent stage of prosperity where you can leverage the extra cash that you have and begin buying assets to free up your time. This will allow you to, begin to stop working and trading your time for dollars at your day job, begin to switch that from working your business by having this is real estate, this is businesses, this is other systems to generate income for you, really to free up your time freedom, okay? Really to free up what you were put here on earth to do. And this, before I get into the 5th stage of prosperity, this is one of the most powerful questions. I love asking this question to entrepreneurs of what would you do? I mean, I want you just to imagine for a second what your life would be like. What would you do with your time if you didn't have to work for an income anymore? Okay, it's a brave question. It's a big question, and my challenge to you is, what would you do if you didn't have to work for an income anymore? So if you got a piece of paper, go ahead and I'm going to take just 20 seconds here and have you write that down. And if you're watching on the Google Hangout, I'd love to hear from you. So put it, there's a chat box below that I've turned on. Go ahead and I'm just curious what your dream is. What would you do? Some of you are writers. Some of you are teachers. Some of you love children. Some of you love your family and invest more time with your family. And there's a lot of different dreams that are watching this video now and then watching the recording since this will be living on Google. But before I get to the 5th stage in prosperity, and as we're moving into the new year, I'm going to talk about how you can leverage this. And I put together a 5-week curriculum to help you shift your beliefs and shift your mindsets and get crystal clear on exactly what you're up to this year. I'm curious, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? So I'm going to pop over here to the live Hangouts, and looks like we've got okay, let me see if I can pull up the chat box here. I see a couple of you: Monica Nielsen, Chuck Morrison, Ben Ortiz, Jody Murphy. Welcome to all of you that are joining in now and have been on. So let me go ahead and back over to the event. And let me make sure here that I've got the chat box turned on. So let me head back over here. Before I get to the 5th one, okay, let me go ahead and turn on the chat box there. So that should have just appeared for you if you're joining us here on the Google Hangouts. Just activated the chat box to the right, and I'm doing this. I don't mean to build up before the 5th one. So as I'm pulling up the chat box, as you're telling me, what it is, a dream that you have, let me go ahead and go here to the 5th step. I'm doing this because some of you are like me, and it drives you nuts to have an unfinished thought. So my apologies to leaving that. 5th stage of prosperity, and this is the exciting part, right? Why do you do anything? Why do you do anything that you're up to in the world? Okay, and stage 5 is contribution. Contribution, okay? Contribution. What were you really put here for, right? And this is why I asked you the question, what would you do if you didn't have to work for your income anymore? Okay, what's it going to be like for you? And I love talking to entrepreneurs who have crossed over this paradigm from the first 4 stages of prosperity into the 5th stage of contribution. And it basically looks like this. I'm going to just go ahead and grab a crayon here from my toolbox. And it basically looks like this. If you're looking at, okay, if you look at, oh, this is funky. Hang on a second here. Hang on a second. Google's going crazy. Let's move this guy out of the way. Pull this little chat over here. And if you look at the 5 phases of prosperity like a speedometer, okay? We've got phase 1, your vision. We've got phase, and this is kind of a funky, whoops. Hey, speedometer, let's stay up here. Okay, if you do phase 1 as your vision, if we look at phase 2 of getting, I don't know why this keeps deleting, phase 2 of your needs, phase 3, building excess cash flow, phase 4, right, buying income producing assets, and then phase 5, which is contribution. Okay, this is kind of the evolution. And the question and the reason I'm sharing these with you, and I'm getting ready to, I'll introduce you to the rest of this alpha webinar series and what I've got planned for you for December to help you have the best year ever, is to shift and make the transition. Okay, to make wherever you're at on the paradigm, if you're in phase 1, if you're in phase 2, if you're in phase 3, if you're in phase 4, or if you're in phase 5 and you're like, what do I do now? The purpose, and I've created something to help guide you along this path, and it's called Alpha. Okay, I'm going to introduce what Alpha is here in just a second. Alpha is basically a 5-week follow-up webinar series to this, and I want to teach the first big picture, the 30,000 foot view, which is the 5 phases of webinar. And what Alpha is a very unique group coaching. It's going to happen over the next 5 weeks. So our first Alpha class starts on December 5th, and it runs weekly for the next 5 weeks into the last class, which will be on January 2nd, so the day after New Year's. And I strategically have created the curriculum for this course. I'm going to walk over and show you what this is in just a second to help you, number 1, get crystal clear on your vision. Okay, what are you up to this year? And when I say crystal clear, we're going to go to the extent of creating a physical printed out version of your vision that you'll be able to hang up on your fridge or put by your nightstand to look at first thing in the morning, last thing before you go to bed. This is one of the tools of the Alpha program to help you reprogram and reshift your thinking. And all of this comes from a couple core questions of who are you and who is your customer? And this was really the guiding thoughts behind why I created this Alpha series. And this is work that I've been doing privately one-on-one with individuals for years. And I recently felt inspired to put this into a setting to help more people, which is why I decided to go ahead and create and launch Alpha. So let me just check before I go over. I'm going to share with you what this is. I'm curious, where are you at in the paradigm, the 5 phases of prosperity paradigm? Just go ahead and put that in the chat box so I can see where you're at in the process. And this is also one of the gauges we'll use for the program. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'm going to start, go ahead and show you exactly what Alpha is, exactly what it's not, who it's for. And then if you've got other questions about that, about the paradigm, about the 5 stages of prosperity, about how you're thinking or where your beliefs come from, which is really the crux of what we're going to be talking about over the next 5 weeks together, we can chat about that too. So let me go ahead and head over. What I want you to do to get access to Alpha is to head over to gabestrom.com/alpha. So let me go ahead and put this. I don't think I can put information in the chat box here. No, I cannot. Okay. So as I dive into the section, I'm just going to talk real briefly about what Alpha is, who it's for, and how to get access. So gabestrom.com/alpha is where I'm going to be living. Let me head over here. Okay, I've got like 4 tabs. Let me pull this guy open here. And let's go ahead and head over to the Alpha page. Okay, so gabestrom.com/alpha. Let me go ahead and switch my screen. Let's go ahead and switch my screen again to okay. First, let's turn these little guys off. Second, let's go to share screen. Alpha Slides, Google Hangout screen. We're going to share the entire screen, which should be sharing everything. And you're going to see slides going in. We're having Inception going on here again. Hang on tight. Okay. Now you should be just looking at one screen. So this is what Alpha is. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. Just a fair warning. I'm taking enrollment. Our first class will be on December the 5th. And so I'm taking enrollment from now until the 30th. This is the special. So Alpha is 5 weeks. And in week 1, I've strategically designed this content to help you unpack and get clarity on who you are and what you're up to in the world. Okay. And this is designed, this process, this is a set of tools. It's something that you'll be able to use each quarter as you shape your vision, and you can come back a year later and refresh it, and you'll have access to that. So module 1, the first webinar, is Know Thyself. We're going to build your 2015 vision, okay? And in fact, one of the first things you do when you enroll in the Alpha class, I've got an assessment I put together for you, a pre-class assessment. That's your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your passions. And this will help us to take a clear inventory of exactly what are the assets that you have, what is the genius, what's the gifts that you had, and how are you using those, and how do you plan on using those for 2015, okay? Now, the end result of this first module, this first webinar together, is to get clarity on your 2015 vision. So I want you to imagine how productive you'll feel and the confidence you'll have knowing exactly that you're on pace to do exactly what you're supposed to do this year. It's a freeing experience, okay? And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to flush past your 1-year vision and get into your 5-year vision, okay? And I've got a process and a series of questions to help stretch you past that so we can take a look at what are you really up to. And when the year 2020 rolls around, where do you want to be at? Now, the reason for this is you don't know, right? If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there, okay? And that's oftentimes the challenge. So this is designed to give you clarity in that. We're going to talk about a short-term plan of action, and you're going to finish week 1. Our intention for the first week is to give you a printed out physical copy of your 2015 vision. This is the first step in the creation process, okay? Then week 2, we're going to talk about arguably what I believe to be the most important step in the process, which is your why, okay? Not what you do, because one of the truths you'll learn about your business is your customers don't care what you do, they care why, right? And the reason I'm doing this training for you is to give you a paradigm and an opportunity to shift your beliefs to have the best year of your life. And I believe that I can offer you some value and some perspectives for some of the blind spots that are holding you back that have probably been running your life subconsciously. So in week 2, we're going to go deep into your why, and you're going to leave week 2 knowing exactly why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you going to be implementing and taking action on the vision you created in week 1? Okay. When you do this, one of the reasons I'm so excited about this is you tap into what I call the 10X effect. And this is where you operate in flow, where things happen easily. This is when you tap into your why, you're able to tap into a state of flow like Roger Bannister tapped into, right? Where the 4-minute mile doesn't seem impossible to you anymore, where you're feeling called into your destiny. So if you found yourself being lethargic this past year, you found yourself, you've got ideas, but you haven't been able to implement on it, my guess is you probably haven't got enough clarity on what your why is. And some of you watching this, your why is very obvious. Some of you, your why is 3 years old and is named Jamie, right? Some of you have whys that are pretty clear. You have your pretty clear family whys of what you're up to, and it'll be easy for you. Others, this can be a challenging process, but we're going to dedicate an entire module here to helping you get clear on your why. And I've got some tools to help flesh that out. Week 3, okay? Week 3 of the Alpha series is action and accountability. So your vision is great, clarity is great, your why is great, and where the rubber really hits the road, I know you're scrolling ahead here, where the rubber really hits the road is in simple daily action plans. Okay, simple daily action plans. And a lot of you, some of you watching this video are entrepreneurs, and you run your own schedule, and holding yourself accountable is sometimes a challenge. So I've created the structure of this program and some simple long-term success strategies you can implement into your business to take your vision, take your why, and manifest those and turn those into reality for your life. So I'm going to talk to you about some systems that you can use for accountability partners and to keep you on track. So that's going to be week 3. Now, week 4 and 5 is really what makes this program unique. And there's a lot of personal development programs out there. There's a lot of coaching programs and trainings that talk about mindset. There's also a lot of information about finances, okay, about creating financial freedom and about building true time freedom in your life. And I've noticed that the conversation for both of those really is the same thing. And the reason we start Alpha with your mindset and you, and then finish week 4 and week 5 on your finances, is I've noticed after working with literally thousands of entrepreneurs all across the world, I felt so passionate about this that this past summer, I went and got licensed and started a financial firm to know the inside of the financial industry. And I've been on a quest of studying not just some of the great entrepreneur minds, but some of the wealthiest individuals in our country to find out also how they think. And I've noticed that the wealth and the money is really just it's a fruit result. It's like the flower. The root cause of whatever financial abundance you have in your life or you don't have in your life is the result of your core thinking, which is why we start there. And one of the first things we do in Alpha is to take a pre-assessment of yourself and identify that core thinking. But in week 4, we go into the money, and we go into a couple key principles: how to build your house on the rock like the wise man. We flush through your budget. We flush through, and some of you maybe say, oh man, here's the budget. Yeah, the budget. How much money are you spending each week and each month on the core necessities? This is going back to the core needs you have. Okay. We also talk about debt elimination. Okay. And some of you are familiar. Some of you are debt-free already. Some of you have 10, 15,000 in credit card debt. Some of you watching are plagued by the student loan epidemic that we have in our country right now. And I really believe this is one of the main problems for lack of financial independence is people get stuck. The American dream as we know it, I believe, is a broken model. Go to school, get a good job. Go to school, take on student loan debt. They forgot to mention, take on 30 to 50K. A lot of schools, a lot of state schools are 20, 30K per year. And the government assistance programs aren't nearly what they used to be. So, students are graduating 20, 30, 50,000. If you get an upper education, 100,000 plus in student loan debts. So I believe firmly, and this is a biblical, this goes into biblical principles of, be it, when you're in debt, you're a slave to the master. And I'm paraphrasing scripture here. But you want to get free of this. And again, if you look at your greatest asset of being able to generate income, if half your income is going to debt service, that's a problem. And this is one of the stages of prosperity. I'm going to help you get a hold of your finances, get clear on where you're at today so we can identify where you want to go in the future. And part of Module 4, this is going to be a turning point for some of you, is to find out the exact month and year that you'll be completely debt-free. And we're actually going to, there's some reverse engineering, some math equations that I'm going to show you to through the debt snowball process of clearly identifying the month and the year that you'll be debt-free and then implementing that plan through our action and accountability system. So this one piece alone of alpha more than pays for the investment in the course. Imagine that if you were able to, at this time next year, where do you want to be? What if you were able to be debt-free by this time next year and on your path to financial independence? That's what's available for you in Module 4. Rubber really hits the road here. In the last module, before I talk about some of the bonuses here, is Alpha 5, which is the wealth building module. Okay, and I'm going to go through some high-level wealth building strategies that are typically reserved for the wealthy 1%. And there's a level of accreditation for those of you that are accredited investors and for those of you that are unaccredited investors. And if you're not familiar with that is, that probably means you're not an accredited investor. And that's fine. But there's a different set of rules for both of these categories. And you probably noticed this, that the U.S. government and the rules were really written for the rich, by the rich. And if you plan on being wealthy in the future, then you got to learn these things. So I'm going to walk through the 5 gotchas of money that can ruin a healthy nest egg. I'm going to share with you the 3 tax buckets and how to build tax advantage wealth like the rich. I skipped the first bullet point, which is a 1,000-man box. We're going to clearly explore what is the 1% doing differently than the middle class and the poor in this country. And then just like in Module 4, we're also going to do a reverse engineer of your retirement plan. Okay, we're going to do a reverse engineer and discover the exact day and month that you'll become financially independent. And I'm going to share with you through some illustrations and models through how the power of compounding interest, aside from it, how you speed up, we can actually pinpoint the day, the year and the month when you'll be completely independent. And what I mean by financial independence is when your passive income, the income coming into your pockets is more than your expenses, than your core expenses, and you don't have to work anymore, and you've built up the assets that are paying you residually month in, month out, so you don't have to work anymore, and you're able to enter in the 5th stage of prosperity, which is contribution. Okay. And then ultimately leave a legacy. And that's really what this is about. So I crafted these 5 specific webinar trainings. These are going to be live, interactive group training sessions. You'll be able to interact with me personally, and we'll have simple action items after each one to get clear on your vision, get clear on your why, implement an action and accountability system, walk through your financial blueprint for freedom and debt elimination, and then walk through the simple wealth building strategies so that you can set you up on pace. And the reason we're doing all of this, which I believe is a comprehensive personal development training unlike anything else that I've seen out there, and I know that because I've been a student of the industry for my entire life, is I believe that real transformation happens as both a conversation with yourself and the outward expression of your money. Okay, so how much is alpha? Well, typically, my typical coaching process, I'm $500 an hour to work with me individually. Normally, to walk through this with me would be a $2,500 program. And because of Thanksgiving, because of the turning of the year, because of the shift in times, I felt inspired to offer this on a group level for $997. And for those of you that are balling on a budget, I decided to put together a simple payment plan, 3 payments of $365, which will allow you to get access to the entire course, all the group training, and all the bonuses I'm going to walk through in just a second. So you can click through on GabeStrom.com/alpha, ALPHA is where you can find this information. And I've got a couple of cool bonuses for you. Okay. So I'm going to just set there's a time limit for this, but before I talk about that, I'm going to talk about a couple of the cool bonuses. First thing that I'm doing, and this is something that I felt inspired, every person that enrolls in the Alpha class between now and November 30th, and for those of you that take action now, this will happen on a first come, first service basis, I'll be offering my world famous Backwards Blueprint personal 60-minute coaching call. Now, this is probably the most valuable thing that I can give you. And, if I were to be honest with myself and ask the question, if I were to pass in 30 days, what's the legacy? How could I add the most value to your life in the shortest amount of time? The answer inevitably would be this Backwards Blueprint coaching call. And I've literally have clients who I've walked this process through that have created multiple six-figure businesses from scratch from the work that we did in this blueprint call. And this is a mind mapping process called future casting, where I basically walk you through, stretch your vision, and we break through your personal belief system to identify what you really want in life and help you get clear on your purpose. And it's a whole lot of stuff that we do in 60 minutes, but there's a series of questions. And this really would help to, the reason I wanted to give this to you and include this as part of the alpha class is I really want you to get the most out of this. And before we get into the vision building, this Backwards Blueprint will serve as a stretching process where you and I will get on the phone one-on-one together to flush out what it is you really want. I firmly believe that's one of the problems in our country with entrepreneurs is most people don't know what they really want. Most people are so stuck in phase one or phase two, the vision and the needs, that they say, well, what's the purpose of even dreaming if I'm in a job that I hate or my business has been stagnant for the past couple of years? And so that's the purpose of Alpha, is to shift that. But the Backwards Blueprint will really give you some tremendous clarity and insight, okay? Second bonus that I'm including in this version of the alpha class is the V3 vision building template. So this is a 5-step vision building template that I'll share with you on the first webinar to make building your vision super easy and simple. Okay, we're going to build your 5-year vision, your long-term vision, your short-term vision, and we're also going to build your short-term action plan. And this is why we look from the end result, but then we build the action steps from today to what's it going to take to create that. And you can basically think of this vision building template as a life map. And this will be the guide. It's kind of the cheat sheet, if you will, to building your vision that you'll be able to print off and hang on your fridge. You'll have a clear roadmap. Now, what's the value of having a vision? And this is the part, as a marketer, I'm supposed to tell you the value is, $19.95 or whatever it is. And when I thought about it and I was honest, I said, I really can't, the value of a vision is unlimited. And I know that because I know the value. I first started implementing this process for myself about a year ago. And I began writing things down on paper physically and being specific with my vision. And the weirdest things have happened where the things that I put on my 5-year vision actually started happening much faster. Compared to the opposite, where in the past I'd always done real short-term work. I'd say, well, what am I going to do in the next 30 days, the next 90 days? And I always failed on those action plans, and I would get frustrated with it. And what I noticed when I first went through this process and I discovered this and flushed out a 5-year vision, that the things that came out of my 5-year vision, I was able to be authentic with myself and real and say, well, what would I really do if I couldn't fail? And when I put those things on paper, they start happening. And I've seen this not for myself, but for clients all over the world that I've taught this with, to my high-end clients. And for the first time, I feel inspired to share this with you, this technology, because I've got a vision of inspiring 1,000 visions this year. And God put this vision on my heart of what would happen if 1,000 people got clear on what they really wanted, printed off their vision, and took action on it every single day and refreshed that vision every single month. And that's the game I'm up to. That's why I created the Alpha course, is to facilitate that, be a part of it. So the value of your vision, the template, is really unlimited. I mean, this can be worth 10,000 to you. It can be worth 100,000 to you. It can be worth millions to you when you apply it. And my question to you is, what's the value of having free time with your family? And what's the value of doing the things that you love and not the things that you don't want to because you're stuck in a job? So it really is an unlimited value, okay? Bonus number 3, I want to give you unlimited access to this content for the entire year, okay? I'm invested in your success. That's why I'm getting on the phone with you. That's why I'm giving you everything that I have. I want you to use this, and really the value of this product, this Alpha program, is something that you'll be able to come back to on a monthly basis and a quarterly basis to reshape and refresh your vision. And I'll have a special module in there just about how to reshape and refresh your vision. So imagine not just having the clarity one time, but having the tools and the resources to shape your vision on a monthly basis, and then teach this to your team, for those of you that lead organizations. Imagine what would happen to your team and the people that you lead in your life if you had crystal clear visions and your team had crystal clear visions, and you were united with a common purpose, and you all knew the why you're in business. Imagine what will happen. That's what's possible for you. So what's the value of this? It's easily $100 a month. Easily $100 a month for the year. Really, if you were to refresh this vision, I mean, this is this can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars to you each quarter just by implementing it. Okay. And the last bonus here on the page is the accountability system. And I mentioned this in module 3. I have a built-in accountability system and training system that you can duplicate with your teams as well to take you and help you implement these tools and trainings. Okay, this isn't a course that you're going to take and it's going to add a bunch of things to your plate. In fact, less is more. And the reason I created this is to save you from investing in all the different trainings and things you're going to do this year. Because you already have enough information. Okay, so the Alpha course is not about adding more things to your life. It's actually about less. It's actually about taking less off your plate and finding all the gaps that's robbing your time right now so that you can begin implementing and investing that time and energy and resources into your dream. Okay, so that's what Alpha is in a nutshell. It's a 5-week webinar series. I wanted to lead off this training with some great content today on the 5 phases of wealth. Enrollment ends on November 30th. Here's what I'll tell you and who this is for and who this isn't for. You know if this is for you, okay? And if you're still watching this Hangout, I know you're interested. You wouldn't be still watching this Hangout if you weren't interested. So I know that you're interested in changing your life. And my challenge to you is if you want to get better results and different results in your life this year, you want to make 2015 the best year of your life, then do something different. Make a bold move, enroll in Alpha. I want to congratulate those of you who've already made the decision to join and take me up on this epic 5-week journey. I'm excited for the results that you're going to experience. It's $997 when you sign up before the 30th. And if you'd like to take advantage, I'm going to offer a 3 times payment plan, which basically means you can take the entire Alpha class. And my guarantee to you is if you take the entire class, implement the tools, get a vision, and you're not completely happy, I'll give you a full money refund. I'm not here. I don't want your money. I want you to value yourself. And the reason I priced this course at $1,000 is my question for you is, when's the last time you invested $1,000 in yourself? When I chuckle because I know the answer, but when's the last time you spend all this money for other people, you pay for your house, for your rent, for your insurance, for your cars? When's the last time you invested $1,000 into yourself and development as a person? And I know the value that's available for you when you do this is unlimited and infinite. And I'm excited for those of you that decide to take it on. So I'm going to take a couple questions. Head over to GabeStrom.com/alpha. You can get a full link here, and when the replay is available, I'll probably post a video here as well. But let me head over to my computer. Turn my computer back on here. Pull up some questions. So as I'm pulling this up, let me take a quick sip of water here. Coming up on the end of the hour here, so we'll shoot to wrap this up here in about 7 minutes. And I know one question I'm going to get right off the bat is this just for folks in the U.S. or is this for international? And my response to that is yes, it's international. The timeframes will be a little different for you because we're doing these trainings live. So, for example, the first Alpha class will be on December 5th at 1 p.m. That's 1 p.m. Eastern time. So depending on where you are in the world, you can check your time for that. But let me go ahead and pull this back up here. Another question I know that we're going to get is I'm going to pull into the chats is who is this for exactly? And the answer to that is quite simply, it's 1 of 2 people. You're either you're an entrepreneur, and I like to call this person Successful Steve or Successful Sarah. You've been very successful in your career, in your life, and you're looking for some ways to tweak. You're looking for those blind spots to help take you to the next level. That's one person I created Alpha for. The other person I created Alpha for is you feel like you're stuck in a job and you're looking for the next step on your career. You don't quite feel fulfilled and happy in what you're doing. You'd like some insight on who you are and how you can clear that. That's the second type of person that I created this for. So let me go ahead and pull this up here. This is cool. We'll have to do more of these Google Hangouts. And of course, as I'm pulling it up, my screen over here freezes. Perfect. Perfect. Well, let me just click back over here and we'll wrap this up, and I'll leave this, pull this down here. All righty. All right. So for those of you, the screen froze on my computer over here, so I can't see the chat box. If you've got questions, leave me a question below here in the chat. If not, head over to gavestrom.com/alpha. Sign up for that class. I'm excited for what's possible for you and for those of you that get to experience this and have the breakthroughs. And the closing thought that I want to leave you with, we've covered a lot of ground today. Okay, we've got a lot of ground on this Hangouts on the 5 stages of prosperity. We started off talking about the 4-minute mile and Mr. Roger Bannister. Okay, so the way we started this Hangouts, the way I want to end this Hangout, and that is, what is your 4-minute mile? What's in your way? What do you believe is possible for you or impossible for you over the next 12 months? What's that piece? And what would happen if you were able to let go of those limiting beliefs and embrace the possibility of what's possible for you? So that's what's available. Freedom's available for you in going through this process. After the Roger Bannister, we talked about the conscious and unconscious thinking. And as part of the pre-assessment, once you enroll in Alpha, I'll show you exactly what's going to happen. Let me go back and do another screen share here real quick. Share my entire screen, and let me pull this up. So once you enroll in Alpha, I've got a pre-assessment that I built for you. Okay. Once you go ahead and check out from Alpha, just go ahead and click on. Let me pull this up here. Well, gavestrom.com/alpha. Click on the button, check out, enroll in the 5-week Alpha course, check out. It'll take you right over to PayPal. Just enter your PayPal information in your account, or if you have, you can use PayPal or check out with any card, your normal card. And once you do, you'll be redirected to the intake form. This is how you know you've been through the system completely. And this is just a quick initial assessment to help give you some clarity before our first call. And this gives me some insight into who you are and what you want to accomplish through this process. And it also gives yourself some clarity on your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your passions. This is kind of like inventory for this new year and for your new life. So you'll go through and check that out, and then I will send you an email for the first official Alpha webinar on December 5th. So I just want to leave you with this. Let me click back to our presentation here. For those of you that have already signed up, congratulations. Welcome. Welcome to the community. I've got some really cool stuff planned for you. I'll be sending you the V3 Vision Builder template. And as soon as you check out, the last piece that I just failed to mention, you'll be instantly redirected to a scheduling tool where you can pick and schedule your time for our backwards blueprint call, which I really believe is the most important part of this entire process. And let's try this one more time. I'll click over here. Looks a little something like this. Okay, you'll be redirected to a page that looks like this where you can schedule some time for us to connect, book the time that works for you, and we'll rock and roll for that blueprint call and get this program started the right way. So hopefully you enjoyed today. I look forward to working with you. Go ahead and go to gavestrom.com/alpha to enroll in the program, and I look forward to talking with you real soon. So we'll see you on the next Hangout. Let me go ahead and